We are in conversation with Mr. Irfan Thassim, founder Oceanpick. Welcome to the show. And today we will be discussing the economic potential of Sri Lanka's fisheries sector. So Irfan, what are the unique properties of Sri Lanka's seafood products that are appealing to the international market?
Okay, so very interesting question. I mean, in terms of, I am fairly new to the seafood sector. Yeah, I come from the apparel sector, and obviously I founded Oceanpick about 8 years ago. So I'm relatively new. Having said that, I think two products that kind of stand out in the international market from a Sri Lankan standpoint would be, I think, the tuna. There is a very special place for the Sri Lankan tuna. And the other thing, if my memory serves me right, would be the crab. If you go, for example, to Singapore and various markets, you will see that the Sri Lankan crab takes pride of place. So these, I think, are two unique products that Sri Lanka offers the world. And in terms of, if you were to look around it, maybe I'm thinking that one of the possibilities is Sri Lanka is still a very virgin kind of a country. There is no mass industrialization where there's a lot of pollution that goes in and kind of contaminates our seafood. So I would think the fact that we are a virgin territory and a pristine ocean around us probably leads to a certain taste profile on our products, seafood products, that is appealing to the world. So I would think that is what it is, and ourselves, we've been farming, let's say, 4 or 5 years now, and we've shipped our product all the way from Australia all the way to the US. And one thing consistently we've heard back is that our barramundi, which is the oceanic barramundi that we grow here, is world class in terms of maybe amongst the best in the world. So I'm led to think our waters around us are very unique in the flavor that it creates in the seafood. And this is my take on it. I may be right, or I may be wrong, but I think that has a lot to do, because our own experience has been that we've been competing in the global market for 3-4 years, and to get that kind of feedback from major customers from across the world, I think is a endorsement of the fact that our growing conditions are absolutely supreme.
So your answer really connects well with my next question as well. You mentioned that we are a virgin territory and that we have a pristine ocean. So when you look at globally, there is a trend amongst consumers to go for eco-friendly, chemical-free fisheries products. So is Sri Lanka positioned to take advantage of such opportunities?
Yes, I mean, in my first answer, I said that Sri Lanka is not majorly industrialized. And that is true also on the fishery side and the agriculture side. So we are bordering more on the artisanal, more smallholder, more sustainable forms of fishery. That's by nature. I mean, that's what we've been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years, and we've not changed much. In addition to that, I can also confirm to you that Sri Lanka is, I think, the only country in this region that is on a fishery improvement program. It's called the FIP, and that's leading, hopefully, us towards an MSC standardization. So once you get an MSC standard, which is the Marine Stewardship Council, that's a global accreditation for Sri Lanka's fishery. So we are very proud as an industry that we are very much part of that program, and we are working towards sustainability on the wild catch fishery side. Having said that, also our own farm, which is the Oceanpick, we are the first certified oceanic farm, BAP certified, Best Aquaculture Practice certified. So I think in the post-pandemic era, as you rightly said, I think it will be very relevant for Sri Lanka as an industry to really get these global standards for our food production systems. So that we can then compete in the global markets, because maybe if we are not certified, if we are not having those good practices, we may not even be entertained in some of those markets. So I think, yes, we are well positioned. I think one of the things that we as a nation need to do, private sector, government, all put together, is also showcase Sri Lanka to the world. as a source for sustainable seafood. We have I think in the garments, we saw in the apparel business garments without guilt, where there is no child labor, there is no captive labor, very, very nice facilities for the people to operate in. So on a similar route, we have the Ceylon tea, the Ceylon cinnamon. We have so much of publicity behind certain brands or products that we can easily extend that to our fishery as well. So hopefully that's something the industry and the government sector is kind of can work together, and that's something that we are working on.
Yes. So are there any domestic barriers that's hindering the fisheries sector? What are those, and what sort of a facilitation would be required from the government to resolve those barriers and ensure that the fisheries sector can really reach its untapped potential?
Yeah, so going back on the first two questions, I would easily state that we have a gold mine that is untapped, because in terms of how much we export to the world, it's not in comparison to the resources that we have. Our fishery exports is at about 300 million US. Our apparel is 5 billion US, and apparel doesn't have the resource that we have, let's say, in terms of natural resources. So I think it's a very great opportunity that we have. In terms of barriers, I think if you say short term, right now, we just need to figure out how to operate in a COVID environment. I think that's the first thing, how well we operate as a public-private entity together. I think that will be the first thing. Second thing, again, right now is logistics, because we are an island. We have to ship everything out either by sea or by air, and the logistic costs have gone up tremendously since the pandemic, so about 300% up. And that's something that we are grappling with in terms of how do we compete in the world marketplace. Other than that, I think there is a 30 to 40% quality loss, post-harvest loss that happens. So we need to, as an industry and as the government, we need to work with the boat. How do you, the education process of how do you preserve the fish, how do you put them in ice, how do you maintain great quality when they come ashore, cold chain management, all the way on the transport, so some of the infrastructure that we don't have currently may pose as barriers to our industry, going to that $1 billion mark. Other than that, I think aquaculture, which is the farming side, I think has to come with the next big contributor, become the next big contributor to the export side. In terms of aquaculture, maybe the approval process, the one-stop shop concept, access to finance, access to livestock insurance, and a bunch of things which I can also happily tell you the current regime and the ministry is very concerned and very involved and engaged with us as industrialists, and they've come out to us, they've met us, and they said, look, let us sit together and try and overcome all of these barriers. So I can confirm that they're very committed. What's the legacy system? We have some challenges, and we are all kind of committed to trying and fixing them. But right now, the immediate challenges are the freight and the operating model under COVID, which is what we have to in the next 3 to 6 months, because no one knows how long this is going to last, and we just need to figure out how to live with COVID. I think that's the first thing, and then the rest, I think we are well on our way to sorting those out.
So thank you very much, Irfan.
My pleasure.
For sharing very interesting insights with us, so that we can take this journey together and ensure that the fisheries sector will realize its true potential.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, and thank you very much. All right.
So thank you for joining us for this episode, and hopeful that you will tune in for similar episodes in the future. Thank you.